Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question before you move on. I want you to think about where you were 1 year ago financially. Think about the number in your bank account. Think about the stress you felt when a bill came in. Think about the conversations you had with yourself at 2 in the morning when the house was quiet and the anxiety was loud. Think about the dreams you had, the house, the car, the freedom, the ability to take care of your family without flinching every time someone needed something from you. Now, I want you to ask yourself honestly, are you closer to that dream today than you were a year ago? Or are you running on the same treadmill, working the same hours, making roughly the same money, feeling roughly the same way, wondering why nothing is changing? Because if you are standing in that place right now, that frustrating, exhausting, confusing place where you are working hard but not getting ahead, I need you to understand something before we go any further. The problem is not your effort. The problem is not your intelligence. The problem is not even your circumstances, as real and as heavy as those circumstances may feel right now. The problem is that nobody ever taught you the laws. Nobody ever sat you down and said, listen, wealth is not random. Wealth is not luck. Wealth is not something that happens to other people because they were born in the right zip code or graduated from the right school or knew the right people. Wealth operates according to laws. Invisible, consistent, powerful laws. And just like the law of gravity does not care whether you believe in it or not, if you step off a building, you are going down. The laws of wealth do not care whether you have heard of them. If you are violating them, you are suffering the consequences. And if you align with them, you will experience results that will shock you, that will make people around you whisper and wonder and ask you what changed. That is what this is about. Today, right now, in this moment, I am going to hand you 3 laws. 3 laws that the wealthiest people in this country and on this planet live by, whether they call them laws or not. 3 laws that separate the people who keep talking about what they are going to do someday from the people who actually build the life they dreamed about. And I am going to be honest with you, some of what I say today is going to make you uncomfortable. Some of it is going to challenge beliefs you have held for years, maybe your entire life. Some of it is going to sound too simple, and your mind is going to want to dismiss it. Do not do that. Stay with me. Because sometimes the most profound truths come dressed in plain clothes, and the people who dismiss them are the same people who wonder 10 years later why their life never changed. So let us begin. Let us talk about the first law of wealth. The first law is this: wealth begins in the invisible before it ever appears in the visible. Read that again. Wealth begins in the invisible before it ever appears in the visible. Every single dollar that has ever flowed into someone's life, every business that has ever been built, every empire that has ever been constructed, started as a thought. It started as an image in someone's mind before it became a reality in the physical world. The house you want to live in exists in someone's imagination long before a single brick is laid. The business you want to build exists as an idea long before it generates a single dollar of revenue. The financial freedom you are dreaming about right now exists as a vision long before your bank account reflects it. Now, here is where most people make the mistake. They hear that and they think it means you just dream about something hard enough and it magically appears. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is far more practical, far more scientific, and far more powerful than wishful thinking. What I am saying is that your internal world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your mental images, your emotional state, your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve, that internal world is the blueprint from which your external world is built. You cannot build a house that is greater than its blueprint. And you cannot build a financial life that is greater than the blueprint you are carrying around in your mind. Think about this. Think about the conversations you have with yourself about money. What do you say? Do you say things like, money is hard to come by? Do you say things like, rich people are greedy? Do you say things like, I am just not good with money? Do you say things like, every time I get ahead, something comes along and knocks me back? Do you say things like, money does not grow on trees? These are not just harmless phrases. These are programming. These are lines of code running in the background of your mental operating system, and they are generating your results. Every single day, your subconscious mind is taking those beliefs and filtering your reality through them, causing you to see certain opportunities and miss others, causing you to take certain risks and avoid others, causing you to attract certain people and repel others, all based on the blueprint you were handed and the blueprint you have been reinforcing every single day without even realizing it. The question then becomes, where did this blueprint come from? And the honest answer is this: most of it came from your childhood. Most of it came from watching your parents interact with money. Most of it came from the dinner table conversations, or the lack of them. Most of it came from what your parents said when the bills came in, what they said when they drove through wealthy neighborhoods, what they said when someone they knew became successful. If you grew up hearing that money is the root of all evil, and I want to pause here because that phrase is almost always misquoted. The actual scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil, but the misquote is what gets passed down. If you grew up hearing money is the root of all evil, then your subconscious mind made a very logical conclusion. It said, if money is evil and I am a good person, then I should not have too much of it. And so, every time you start to build real momentum financially, something in you pulls back. Something in you self-sabotages. Something in you finds a way to spend it, lose it, give it away, or make a decision that brings you back to the level your subconscious believes is safe and appropriate for you. This is not a character flaw. This is not weakness. This is programming, and programming can be changed. But here is what I need you to understand about changing it: you cannot change a program you are not aware of. The first step is always awareness. The first step is sitting down honestly and asking yourself, what do I actually believe about money? Not what do I wish I believed, not what sounds right, not what I have heard in motivational speeches before. What do I actually believe in my bones? And then you look at your results. Because your results are always the most honest reflection of your beliefs. If you want to know what someone truly believes, do not listen to what they say. Look at what they have. Look at what they do. Look at the patterns that keep repeating in their life. Because the external world is always a printout of the internal world. Always. Without exception. So how do you change the blueprint? There are 3 primary ways. The first is through repetition. The brain changes through repetition. This is not mystical, this is neuroscience. Every time you think a thought, a neural pathway fires. Every time you think that same thought again, that pathway gets slightly stronger. Over years of thinking the same thoughts about money, those pathways become like highways in your brain, fast, automatic, effortless. They run without you even trying. They run while you sleep. The good news is that the same process works in reverse. Every time you choose a new thought about wealth, every time you affirm your abundance, every time you speak about money as a tool for good, every time you visualize your financial goals as already real, you are building new neural pathways. At first, they are thin and weak, like a dirt trail through a field. But over time, with consistent repetition, they become highways too. And the old poverty pathways, starved of attention, begin to fade. The second way to change the blueprint is through emotional intensity. The brain does not just record every experience equally. It records experiences that were emotionally charged much more deeply and permanently. This is why you can still remember exactly where you were when something terrifying or wonderful happened to you, but you cannot remember what you had for lunch 3 weeks ago. The brain marks emotionally intense experiences as important and stores them deeply. This is why affirmations without emotion are largely ineffective. Saying, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy in a bored monotone while your mind is wandering is not going to rewire anything. But sitting in meditation, breathing deeply, feeling the genuine emotion of what your life will look and feel like when you have achieved financial freedom, the relief, the joy, the pride, the peace, the ability to care for the people you love, that emotional intensity accelerates the rewiring process dramatically. This is not fake. This is not fluffy. This is how the brain actually works. The third way to change the blueprint is through identity. And this is the deepest level of change available to you. Most people try to change their behavior first. They try to make more money, save more money, invest more money. But if the identity has not changed, if deep down you still see yourself as someone who struggles, someone who is not good with money, someone who does not deserve abundance, the new behaviors will not stick. It is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a while through effort and willpower, but eventually it pops back up. The internal identity always wins over external effort in the long run. The shift that has to happen is the shift from I am someone who is trying to become wealthy to I am someone who is wealthy. The shift from I am working on my money mindset to I am a person who naturally thinks, speaks, and acts from a place of abundance. This is not delusion. This is not lying to yourself. This is understanding that identity shapes behavior, behavior shapes results, and results confirm identity. You have to start the cycle at the identity level if you want permanent, lasting change. The wealthiest people in America, the ones who built it from nothing, the first-generation millionaires, the entrepreneurs who started in garages and ended up on magazine covers almost universally describe a moment when something shifted inside them. A moment when they stopped seeing themselves as someone trying to get rich and started seeing themselves as someone who simply was going to be rich. As someone for whom wealth was the natural and inevitable outcome of who they were becoming, that internal shift preceded every external result. Every single time. So that is the first law. Wealth begins in the invisible. Fix the blueprint, change the identity, rewire the belief system, and watch the external world begin to reorganize itself around your new internal reality. Now let us talk about the second law, and this one is going to challenge some of you, because it goes against something many of us were taught from the time we were old enough to understand the concept of work. The second law is this: wealth is created through value, not time. Sit with that for a moment. Wealth is created through value, not time. The entire framework most Americans were raised with: go to school, get good grades, get a good job, trade your hours for dollars, work hard for 40 years, retire with a pension. That framework is built on the idea that your time is your most valuable asset and that you exchange it directly for money. And I am not here to tell you that working hard is bad. Work ethic matters enormously, but I am here to tell you that if time is the only currency you are trading, there is a hard ceiling on what you can earn, because there are only 24 hours in a day. And no matter how talented you are, no matter how skilled, no matter how dedicated, if every dollar you earn requires another hour of your time, you will always be limited by the number of hours available to you. The wealthy do not think this way. The wealthy do not ask, how many hours can I work? They ask, how much value can I create? And then they find ways to package, leverage, and multiply that value in ways that allow money to flow, even when they are not physically present. This is the difference between active income and passive income. This is the difference between a job and a business. This is the difference between owning your time and selling it. Think about the difference between a doctor who sees patients and a doctor who builds a hospital. The doctor who sees patients is incredibly valuable. They are skilled, educated, irreplaceable in many ways. But they are still trading time for money. The moment they stop seeing patients, the income stops. The doctor who builds a hospital, who creates a system that delivers healthcare at scale, who hires other doctors and staff and builds infrastructure, that person has created value that exists and generates income, independent of their personal time. They have escaped the time for money trap. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, that is great for doctors and entrepreneurs, but I am not in a position to build a hospital. I get that, but the principle applies at every level. Every single person listening to this right now has skills, knowledge, experience, or ideas that are valuable to someone else. The question is whether you are packaging and delivering that value in a way that is scalable. Are you creating something, a product, a service, a piece of content, a system, a solution that can reach and serve more people than just the ones you personally touch in a day? Because that is where wealth lives. Wealth lives in scale. Wealth lives in leverage. Wealth lives in the ability to create value for thousands or millions of people without requiring a proportional increase in your personal time. Look at the most successful people in America today, the people who have built 9- and 10-figure net worths. Almost none of them did it by working harder than everyone else. They did it by solving problems that affected a large number of people and then scaling that solution. They did it by creating systems that worked while they slept. They did it by understanding that the goal is not to be the most hardworking person in the room, the goal is to be the most valuable, and then to find ways to multiply that value beyond your personal capacity. And here is what is revolutionary about the world we are living in right now, in 2026. The barriers to creating scalable value have never been lower in the history of human civilization. Never. Not even close. 100 years ago, if you wanted to reach 1 million people with your idea, your product, your message, your solution, you needed massive capital, distribution networks, printing presses, radio stations, television deals. Only the truly elite had access to the infrastructure required to scale. Today, you have a smartphone. You have the internet. You have platforms that give you direct access to billions of people at zero cost. The playing field has been leveled in ways that are genuinely historic, and most people are using these tools to watch other people's content instead of creating their own. Most people are consuming instead of producing. Most people are buying other people's products instead of building their own. The second law demands that you ask a fundamentally different question than the one you have been asking. Instead of asking, "What job can I get that pays more?" ask, "What problem can I solve that affects a lot of people?" Instead of asking, "How can I work more hours?" ask, "How can I create something that works without me?" Instead of asking, "What is the market rate for my skill?" ask, "How can I package my skill in a way that delivers value to 1,000 people at once?" This shift in thinking is not just practical, it is transformational. Because when you start asking these questions, you start seeing opportunities that were invisible to you before. You start noticing problems everywhere, and instead of being annoyed by them, you start asking, "Could I be the one to solve that?" You start looking at your own experiences, your struggles, your lessons, the things you have figured out the hard way, and instead of seeing them as just your personal story, you start seeing them as a curriculum, as a product, as a service that other people would pay for, because they are still where you were 2 years ago. This is why so many people in America right now are building businesses around their personal experiences. The person who lost 50 pounds and now coaches others on weight loss. The person who got out of $60,000 of debt and now teaches others how to do the same. The person who learned how to flip houses, or trade stocks, or build a Shopify store, or grow a social media following and now monetizes that knowledge. They are not selling time. They are selling value. They are selling transformation, and the market pays generously for transformation. But here is the other dimension of the second law that most people miss, and it is critically important. Value is not just about what you create. It is also about what you know. The single fastest way to increase your earning power, in any context, employed or self-employed, in any industry, is to become someone who knows more, who can do more, who can solve harder problems than the people around you. The market always pays more for rare and valuable skills. Always. The person who can do what only a few others can do will always out-earn the person who can do what everyone can do. This is why investing in your own education, not necessarily formal education, but continuous learning, skill development, staying ahead of what the market needs is one of the highest return investments you can make. Not investments in stocks, not investments in real estate, though those matter too. The investment in your own mind, your own skills, your own capacity to create value, that investment compounds at a rate that no financial instrument can match. So the second law is clear. Stop trading time and start creating value. Find the problem worth solving. Build the thing that scales. Invest relentlessly in your ability to create rare, valuable, transformational results for others. And the money will follow value the way water follows gravity. It is not personal. It is not subjective. It is a law. Now we come to the third law, and I want you to understand that in many ways, this is the law that locks in the first two. This is the law that turns momentum into legacy. This is the law that separates people who have a good year from people who build generational wealth. The third law is this: wealth multiplies through consistency, not intensity. Wealth multiplies through consistency, not intensity. Let me say that differently so it really lands. One extraordinary month does not make you wealthy. One great investment does not make you wealthy. One viral video, one big sale, one bonus check, one lottery ticket, none of these make you wealthy. What makes you wealthy is doing the right things, in the right direction, consistently, over time, without stopping when it gets hard or boring or slow. This is where most people fall apart. This is the graveyard of potential. The graveyard is full of people who started strong, who had the vision, who took the first steps, who saw early results and then stopped. They stopped because life got busy. They stopped because results plateaued. They stopped because someone told them it would not work. They stopped because a new shiny opportunity came along and they switched directions. They stopped because they did not see the kind of dramatic results they expected in the kind of short timeline they imagined. And then years later, they look at someone who started the same journey around the same time and never stopped, and they wonder how that person got so far ahead. They call it luck. It is not luck. It is consistency. Pure, unglamorous, underrated, world-changing consistency. Think about compound interest. The most powerful force in the financial universe, and I know that phrase has been attributed to Einstein and debated by historians. But whoever said it first, the truth of it is undeniable. Compound interest is the process by which a small amount of money, consistently invested over a long period of time, becomes a massive amount of money, not because of any single dramatic event, not because of a windfall, but because of the relentless, patient, compounding of consistent action over time. A person who invests $500 a month starting at 25 and never stops will retire with more money than a person who invests $5,000 a month starting at 45 and never stops. The first person put in less money. They just started earlier and stayed longer. Consistency in time beats intensity in short bursts. Every single time. The math is not close. But here is what I want you to understand. The law of consistency does not just apply to investing money. It applies to every dimension of wealth building. It applies to building a business. The business that wins in any market is almost never the one with the best idea. It is the one that showed up every day when the better idea businesses gave up. It is the one that kept posting content when the views were low. It is the one that kept making sales calls when the rejection rate was high. It is the one that kept improving the product when the early reviews were discouraging. Consistency is not just a virtue. In the context of wealth building, consistency is a weapon. A slow, quiet, unstoppable weapon. It applies to relationships, the network you build, the mentors, the partners, the clients, the collaborators. That network is not built in a day. It is built through years of showing up, adding value, keeping promises, following through, being reliable, being consistent. In business, trust is the ultimate currency. And trust is never built through grand gestures. Trust is built through small, consistent actions repeated over long periods of time. Every time you do what you said you would do, you make a deposit in the trust bank with that person. Over years, those deposits compound into relationships that will open doors that you could not have imagined and could not have opened through any other means. And the law of consistency applies to your mindset work. I talked about the first law, rewiring the blueprint, changing the identity. That work does not happen in a weekend retreat. It does not happen after reading one book or watching one video. It happens through the daily practice of choosing new thoughts, speaking new words, holding new images in your mind, even when the external circumstances have not yet caught up. Even when the bank account still says one thing and your affirmations are saying something else, you keep going. You keep affirming. You keep visualizing. You keep acting as if. Not in denial of reality, but in faithful anticipation of the reality that is being built, the reality that your consistent internal work is creating, even when you cannot yet see it. Here is an analogy I want you to hold on to. Think about bamboo. There is a species of bamboo in Asia that when you plant it, you water it, you fertilize it, you care for it, and for 5 years, you see nothing, nothing above the ground. For 5 years, if you did not know better, you would think nothing was happening. You would think the seed was dead. You would think you were wasting your time. But what is actually happening during those 5 years is that the bamboo is building an underground root system so extensive, so deep, so strong, that when it finally does break through the surface, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. 90 feet in 6 weeks. The growth looks sudden to the outside observer. To anyone who just walked by and glanced, it looks like an overnight success. But to the person who planted it and watered it and cared for it through 5 years of invisible growth, they know better. They know the overnight success took 5 years of underground work. Your wealth journey is the bamboo. The years when nothing seems to be happening, the years when you are learning, building skills, making small investments, building the business that has not yet taken off, developing the network that has not yet paid off. Those are the root years. Those are the years that everything depends on. And the people who give up in year 3 or year 4, right before the breakthrough, right before the roots are deep enough to support explosive above-ground growth, those are the people who look at someone else's year 5 and call it luck. Do not be that person. Do not give up in the root years. Now I want to bring these 3 laws together because they are not independent of each other. They work as a system. They reinforce each other. And when all 3 are operating in your life simultaneously, the results are not additive, they are exponential. Think about what happens when you align all 3. You have done the internal work of the first law, you have identified and dismantled the limiting beliefs, you have built a new identity around abundance, you are carrying a blueprint that matches the life you want to build. You have embraced the second law, you have stopped purely trading time for money, you have identified the value you can create, you are building something that scales, you are investing in your skills, you are solving real problems for real people. And you have committed to the third law. You are not doing this for 90 days, and then reassessing. You are not doing this until the first obstacle hits. You are doing this as a lifestyle, as a long-term commitment, as a non-negotiable part of who you are. When those 3 laws are all active in your life, something happens that is almost impossible to explain to someone who has not experienced it. The world starts to reorganize around your intention. Opportunities start appearing that you could not have manufactured or planned. The right people start showing up at the right time. Doors open that you did not even know existed. Not because the universe is playing favorites, not because you have some special cosmic favor that others do not have, but because you have aligned yourself with the laws that govern how wealth flows in this world. And just as a river always finds the sea if it keeps moving, wealth always finds the person who has aligned with its laws and keeps moving. I want to talk about what 2026 specifically represents for you, because this is not just a motivational speech disconnected from time and reality. We are living in a specific moment in history, and that moment matters for wealth building. We are living in a moment when technology is reshaping every industry simultaneously. We are living in a moment when the traditional structures of employment, income, and wealth accumulation are being disrupted faster than at any point since the Industrial Revolution. And disruption is always scary. But disruption is also always the single greatest wealth creation opportunity for those who are paying attention and willing to move. Every major technological disruption in history created massive new wealth. The printing press created new industries. The railroad created new millionaires. Electricity created new empires. The internet created more new wealth in a shorter period of time than perhaps any technological development in history. And what we are living through right now, the rise of artificial intelligence, the decentralization of finance, the global digital marketplace, the creator economy, the on-demand service economy, all of this is creating new wealth opportunities at a scale that has never existed before. The question is not whether this wave will create wealthy people. It will. Comes demand. The question is whether you will be one of them, or whether you will watch it happen from the sideline, saying you knew it was coming but never moved. 2026 is a year of decision. Not for the world will do what the world does. But for you personally, right now, this year, this month, this week, you are standing at a decision point. You can continue doing what you have been doing and get more of what you have been getting. Or you can make a genuine, deep, commitment-level decision to align with these 3 laws and step into the financial future that has always been available to you, but that you have been blocked from by the invisible barriers of wrong beliefs, wrong models, and inconsistent effort. And I want to speak to the skeptics right now. I know some of you are listening to this, and part of you is moved, but another part of you is resistant. Part of you is saying, I have heard this before. Part of you is saying, this sounds good, but my situation is different. Part of you is saying, manifestation and mindset are nice, but my bills are real, and my problems are real, and I need real solutions. I hear you. Your bills are real. Your problems are real. The systemic challenges that many Americans face are real: the student debt, the medical debt, the widening wealth gap, the rising cost of living, the wages that have not kept up with inflation. I am not dismissing any of that. I am not standing here telling you that positive thinking pays your rent. It does not. But here is what I am telling you. Everything that has ever been built, every problem that has ever been solved, every circumstance that has ever been changed, it was changed first by someone who decided to believe it could be changed before they had any evidence that it could. The belief preceded the action. The action preceded the result. The result confirmed the belief. You cannot skip the belief step. You cannot go straight from difficult circumstances to changed circumstances without passing through the gateway of belief, the belief that change is possible, that you are capable, that the laws of wealth will work for you as surely as they have worked for everyone who aligned with them. Your skepticism is not protecting you. Your skepticism is not keeping you safe. Your skepticism is keeping you stuck. And I say that not as an insult, but as someone who wants to see you free. The wall between you and the life you want is mostly invisible. It is built not from steel or stone, but from doubt, from limiting beliefs, from the quiet voice that says, people like me do not build that kind of life. And that voice is lying. That voice has been lying to you for years. And the first act of courage that your wealth journey requires is to stop believing that voice. I want you to think about one person, just one, who came from circumstances as difficult or more difficult than yours and built something extraordinary. You know someone like that. Maybe you have read about them. Maybe you have watched a documentary about them. Maybe you know them personally. I want you to think about that person, and I want you to ask yourself, what did they have that I do not have? Honestly, what did they have? Were they born with a gene you were not born with? Did they get extra hours in their day? Was the law of gravity different for them? No, they had the same 24 hours. They operated in the same world. They faced, in many cases, greater obstacles. What they had was a decision, a real, final, no-going-back decision that this is going to change. Not a wish, not a hope. A decision. The kind of decision that closes every door behind you and leaves only forward as an option. That decision is available to you right now, not tomorrow, not when the timing is better, not when you have more resources or more clarity or less stress. Right now, in your current circumstances, with your current resources, in your current city, with your current skills, you can make that decision. And if you make it genuinely, everything that follows in these laws will begin to take root in your life. Let me close with this, because I want to leave you with something you will carry beyond today. I want to leave you with an image. Imagine yourself on December 31st, 2026. You are sitting somewhere, maybe it is your home, maybe it is somewhere new, somewhere that reflects the changes you have made this year, and you are looking back at the 12 months that just passed. You are thinking about the decision you made at the beginning of the year. You are thinking about the work you did on your inner blueprint, the beliefs you dismantled, the new identity you stepped into. You are thinking about the value you created, the problem you solved, the thing you built, the skill you developed, the people you served. You are thinking about the consistency you maintained, not perfect consistency, because no one is perfectly consistent, but genuine, committed, get back up when you fall consistency. And you are looking at what that year produced. Not just in dollars, though the dollars are real and they matter, but in who you became, in the confidence you carry now, in the way you talk about money, think about money, relate to money, in the doors that opened, in the opportunities that found you, because you were finally positioned to receive them. That person, that version of you on December 31st, 2026, that person is not a fantasy. That person is not reserved for someone else. That person is the natural result of aligning with these 3 laws, starting today and not stopping. Wealth begins in the invisible. Build the blueprint that matches the life you want. Change the story you have been telling yourself about what is possible for you. Decide at the identity level that you are someone who creates and attracts abundance, because when the blueprint changes, the building changes. Every time, without exception. Wealth is created through value. Stop asking how much can I earn and start asking how much can I give. Stop asking how many hours can I work and start asking how many people can I serve. Find the problem that needs solving. Bring your full self to solving it. Build the system that delivers that solution at scale, and watch the market reward you in proportion to the value you create. Because the universe is not stingy. The market is not stingy. It is perfectly, consistently generous to those who are genuinely, scalably valuable to others. And wealth multiplies through consistency. Show up today, show up tomorrow, show up when you do not feel like it. Show up when the results are slow. Show up when people around you are questioning your direction. Show up in the root years, when the bamboo is underground and invisible, and you have to water it on faith, because the roots always become the tree. Always. Consistency always, eventually, inevitably, becomes results. It is not a maybe, it is a law. 3 laws, 1 decision, 1 year, your life, the one you have been dreaming about, the one that feels sometimes like it belongs to someone else, the one that keeps showing up in your mind at 2 in the morning, when the world is quiet, that life is not a dream. It is a blueprint, waiting for a builder, and you are the builder. You always were. You just needed to know the laws. Now you know them. What you do next is entirely up to you, but I genuinely, completely believe that you did not find this message by accident. I believe you are exactly ready for exactly this. And I believe that 2026 is going to be the year you look back on as the year everything changed. Not because of luck, not because of timing, but because you decided, because you aligned, because you acted, because you did not stop. Go build your wealth. The laws are on your side.